Greetings and welcome, everyone. Ever since the episode A Royal Problem came out, there's been a lot more possibilities for discussion. Since the review I made with my brother Tarek, I've found others who are interested in adding on to the conversation surrounding this story. Come to think of it, even back when the synopsis for A Royal Problem came out, I received a collaboration request from Tricky Fox here.
Thanks for coming over, Doc. I knew this would be a very special episode and it didn't disappoint, so I wanted to do something extra for this one. I think there's a lot to talk about, so I'm glad that you are helping me out. A Royal Problem, already one of my all-time favorites. The setup alone is quite fascinating. The revelation that the map is not only limited to the main 6 opens the door for a lot of possibilities. In theory, it could be used to send any pony on a mission, giving less prominent characters some spotlight. Especially the Cutie Crusaders could benefit from the map. As they are children, they are usually limited to stay in Ponyville, but their talent to help people with their Cutie Mark is more or less made for solving friendship problems, and it would be a great excuse to get them out of town.
I'd certainly be open to the idea of secondary characters being called by the map. It could bring out many new character combinations that each bring out new traits in the other. However, the writers would need to take great care in this idea, as simply choosing 2 ponies at random and sending them out on a mission would more often than not cause the audience to question why those 2 in particular were needed, when any member of the main 6 could have filled that role just as easily. But as long as there are compelling reasons for individual ponies to be called, I'd love to see more characters being involved in map missions.
That being said, it is kinda odd that the map suddenly picks some pony else than the main 6. After all, this map is seemingly connected to the elements of harmony and the main 6 in the process, as indicated by the fronts around it. So if we assume that the map can only select ponies that have a direct connection to it, there must be another explanation to why the map has picked Starlight besides the writer simply deciding that it is free for all now. And I have a theory for that. Starlight tinkered with the map back in the Q2 remake, which, as we learned later, seemingly damaged it to some degree. It needed Twilight's and Starlight's combined effort to repair it, and in that moment, Starlight infused the map with her own magic. It is possible that she has a connection to the map, like the main 6, since that moment. And you could say that since the main 6 and Starlight are all connected by the map, that it is symbolic for Starlight joining the group and becoming a main character.
While I could see some potential with that theory, perhaps there's another reason which isn't quite so complex. Let's say for a moment that the Cutie map draws its connections from those who imbue their own magic on it. Certainly Starlight Glimmer had used her magic with the map during the Season 5 finale, but that's not the only time that's happened. Let's say for a moment that the map had recognized Starlight as a worthy pony because she learned a valuable friendship lesson while also using her magic on the map. I can think of one other pony who actually fits that description. Like, say, Trixie when she teleported the map away, and both Starlight and Trixie learned a valuable lesson in the process? Maybe that's the reason why Starlight was chosen for the Royal Problem episode.
Now that you mention it, there is a pretty decent possibility that Trixie might get sent on a friendship mission alongside Starlight, or maybe even with some pony else. I would love to see an episode with her teaming up with Twilight or Rainbow Dash, though something that bothers me a bit about this episode is that Starlight used magic to solve the problem. I think it goes a bit against what other episodes have built up so far. No second princess, and especially every little thing she does, shout how Starlight relies too much on her magic. It's always her first course of actions, and that is portrayed as a negative habit. This also is true for other map episodes. In Made in Manhattan they outright stated that it wouldn't have solved the actual problem if Twilight was there to fix everything with magic. Magic was never used to solve a problem in any of these episodes, unless you count the time Twilight used the spell to freeze the Whofields and McCalls, so they listened to Fluttershy.
Indeed, the series has made it abundantly clear that Starlight's attempts to solve all her problems with magic will more often than not backfire against her. However, I think it is quite admirable to show a situation where a bold and perhaps even a little foolhardy decision can yield positive results. We know that Twilight would never have forced the Royal Sisters to resolve their differences in such a manner. And we still see that Starlight wasn't so overconfident in her choices either. She had to face the consequences of her actions, and face a possible reality where her magic ultimately made things worse. But in the end, we are shown a lesson where not everything can be solved with a calm and kind demeanor. And I can respect MLP a lot more for showing new perspectives every now and then.
You got the point there. It got so bad that Starlight even had nightmares about it, which indicates that her prior lessons in this regard stuck. Also, all brought it up shoutouts that her magic is tied to her emotional state, and it did seem more like an impulse or accident that she used this spell in the first place. The Starlight we saw in every little thing she does would have done this intentionally and never even question her actions. It shows that Starlight has grown quite a bit as a character.
It is quite intriguing to see how far Starlight has come since then. But she's not the only interesting character in this story. After all, this is the long-awaited episode that finally gave us deeper insight into Luna and Celestia's relationship.
Frankly, I'm not exactly happy how Luna doesn't seem to be that involved in politics. This episode makes it look like Celestia is running the country, while Luna is seemingly limited to only watch over the dream realm at night. Not that I want to downplay the importance and overall positive effect of her job, but ponies managed to survive for 1,000 years without that service. Considering how difficult it is for Luna to deal with daily politics, she doesn't seem to do anything else than watching over dreams. As such, they don't really seem like equal rulers. It portrays Celestia more or less as the sole ruler of Equestria.
That's actually something I can agree on somewhat. Celestia certainly seems like she's doing more for her subjects in the long run when compared to Luna. And admittedly, if ponies managed to keep dreaming during her 1,000-year absence and Equestria never fell apart in all that time, then at least on the surface, it would appear that losing Celestia would cost far more to the ponies than losing Luna.
That being said, Luna's job as a Dream Warden is the only thing that makes this episode actually work. Celestia took care of Luna's duties in her absence for 1,000 years, so Luna needs something that Celestia can't do under normal circumstances to even the odds. And while Luna's work might not seem as important, this episode makes it apparent that she works as much as her sister.
I'd be open to a story where Celestia is out of commission for an indeterminate amount of time, where Luna needs to take up the mantle of ruling Equestria both day and night. At the same time, I'd question whether the populace would request Luna to weigh in on their disagreements, or if they'd already be seeking out Twilight Sparkle instead. I mean, the ponies of Canterlot were very quick in following Twilight's counsel right after the Royal Sisters disappeared during the Season 4 premiere. So who's to say they wouldn't do that all over again even if Luna was still around? Questions for another time, I suppose.
I also think that Celestia's work could have been a bit better represented. This episode mainly focuses on Luna making public appearances in Celestia's stead, and while it makes a pretty good point that it's not as easy as it might sound, and how one single mistake can have enormous consequences, I think it was a missed opportunity to show that there's more to being a princess than looking pretty. Okay, they maybe tried to show it with the whole Timberwolf situation and the following 3-hour meeting that seemingly took a heavy toll on Luna. But it is over rather quickly. I would have preferred if they had focused on that rather than how difficult it is to keep up appearances, but I suppose that was due to the limited time of a 20-minute episode. There was a similar setup in Luna's microcomic issue, though there are some noteworthy differences. For one, comic Luna is a bit more weird than her show counterpart. While the Luna we see in the show is much more adapted by now, comic Luna not so much. She also has a greater workload, as she apparently has to fight off monsters at night as well, making the duties of Celestia and Luna seem a bit more balanced. It is also the self-confident Luna who suggested to take over Celestia's role for a day, while Celestia is well aware that they both work equally hard. As the comic only focuses on Luna, it has more time to develop its conflict of her dealing with several royal duties. She doesn't only make public appearances, Luna has to actually rule the country for a day. And since Luna's overall a bit crazier, the results are much more amusing. Frankly, I hope to see something similar in a royal problem. But once Luna doesn't try to do everything like Celestia and takes everything at her own pace, everyone comments that she actually did a good job. unlike the Luna in the show who asks Celestia at the end to fix her mess. At the same time, Celestia is portrayed as the one who knew everything better from the beginning, which seems a bit patronizing. So, while the comics arguably portrayed Luna's struggle a bit better and showed a broader variety of royal duties, the show managed to portray the royal sisters more as equals, where the comic made Celestia the superior one.
Oh, I've lost count of how many episodes could have solved their pacing and character issues if only they had a longer runtime.
The same also applies to Celestia dealing with the dreamscape as well. While Luna dealt with a normal day for Celestia, Celestia dealt more with her personal demons, rather literally, than with other ponies' nightmares. As such, it doesn't really represent Luna's usual work night. Luna would have struggled as much or even more so in that situation. I think it would have been more effective if Celestia had dealt with a couple of nightmares before entering Starlight's dream, making it a climax, rather than the one thing Celestia had to deal with. In a perfect world, this would have been a two-part episode. One focusing on Luna dealing with daily politics, and the next one on Celestia helping ponies with their nightmares.
Actually, wasn't it made clear in the episode that Daybreaker was created out of Starlight's nightmare, and not solely from Celestia's personal demons? I'm quite curious about how Daybreaker would have interacted with Starlight if Celestia had never shown up. Or perhaps there wouldn't be any dialogue at all, and just the two sisters battling each other in their corrupted forms while Starlight cowers in a corner.
I'm not so sure about that. We don't know how the dream realm actually works, and how a visitor might influence someone else's dream even if he or she has no intention to do so. The question is, do you dream in someone else's dream? This is especially true in Celestia's case, who has Luna's dream-altering magic, but little to no experience handling it. And if we assume that magic is tied to emotions, it doesn't sound too far off that Celestia's self-doubt is brought to life by it. There are a couple of things that support this as well. For example, unlike the main six, Starlight never encountered Nightmare Moon, yet the dream version is still a perfect copy. Okay, this one can be explained to some degree. Starlight is aware of Nightmare Moon, and Twilight probably told her about their previous encounter, but she might as well be a manifestation of Celestia's own fears. Daybreaker is an even stronger indicator for that. The first thing she does is addressing Celestia. She delivers a whole breaking speech how Celestia could turn into her. She barely pays Starlight any attention. I think if she was truly created by Starlight's subconsciousness, she would rub it in her face how she came to be thanks to Starlight's doing. It also becomes somewhat apparent if you compare this episode to prior Dream episodes. Luna always helped the Dreamer to overcome their fears and insecurities, but here it is less about Celestia helping Starlight overcoming her problems than Celestia overcoming her dark side, and she does exactly that after she talked with Luna. So it actually ended with Celestia overcoming her own self-doubt, while Starlight was more confused until she confronted the Royal Sisters afterwards.
Some very intriguing questions, and a lot of intriguing theories that might help explain them. I imagine that Luna has had far more experience in the dream realm, and thus was able to teach herself not to bring along her own emotional turmoil when visiting the dreams of others. And if this is the case for anyone who visits the dreams of others, then it's not too far a stretch for Celestia not to be fully aware of this danger when she was attempting to comfort Starlight Glimmer. Or perhaps Starlight herself has far more power than she realizes, and her own magic that switched Luna and Celestia's cutie marks in the first place had also left a deep impression on her subconscious, which in turn caused this nightmare to manifest. Might make for some very interesting fanfictions if it turned out that one cannot manipulate the cutie marks of others without being changed themselves from within. I don't suppose there's really any elements in these episodes which would prove these theories one way or another. But then I do enjoy some of the more what-if scenarios that MLP presents.
Indeed, but even if Daybreaker was simply a part of Starlight's imagination, it had metaphorically the same effect on Celestia. The conflict would stay more or less the same, but I think it's quite interesting that this is not the first time we saw a what if Celestia became evil scenario. The trading card game actually presented an alternative to Daybreaker a couple of years ago. The Nightmare Star card got quite a bit of attention, especially when the synopsis for the Cutie Remark was revealed. I personally expected that Starlight messing with a time travel spell would result in a timeline in which Celestia became mad with power, until the first trailer was revealed, that is. Of course, the trading card game is even less canon than the comics, but it truly was an interesting thought. I personally prefer Daybreaker's design though. That being said, if Daybreaker was truly nothing more than a dream, she might not exactly represent how a corrupted Celestia would actually look like.
More possibilities that we hope might get explored in the show someday. And though a lot of the more unique ideas amongst the fans would never be adopted by the MLP staff, they have thoroughly surprised us before. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime though, we would like to hear your thoughts. Will there be others called by the Cutie Map in future episodes? Could any pony who interacts with the map while learning a friendship lesson be considered worthy of a mission?
And what do you think of other ponies going on friendship missions in general? Would you have preferred it to be something unique to the main 6? What are your thoughts on Daybreaker? Let us know in the comments below.
Until next time, I am Dr. Wolf.
And I'm Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.
And we look forward to hearing from you.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell that I know you know so well. Sometimes you can be too smart for your